Hello, everybody. We're here on time today. Tank and I are both on at the same time in the beginning, and hopefully no technical difficulties for today. Well, welcome to GCR The Big Lie. And I've been telling at the beginning, why did I name this particular series of videos GCR The Big Lie? And it's really because I've been so much part of it, and so as Tank has, and and I knew we really didn't know each other, maybe a couple months ago, but for last 4 or 5 years being involved in what is termed the GCR, the global currency reset, in regards to the powers that be saying that the world's financial system is going to be corrected and reset. And when that happens, you, for participating in the GCR, your door prize is fabulous wealth by holding on to Iraqi dinar notes or Zimbabwe dollars, which when they revalue them will go from pennies up to millions and billions and trillions of dollars. So this is what the GCR is. And this has been throughout all of this time. The people I've known are serious people within industries, whether it's the banking industry or government agencies, military, all participating in this GCR. That they have adopted a stance that this is real, right? So now, to the rest of the world out there, it's Iraqi dinar, that's all fake, right? But but the people that are involved because they have an understanding of the other people that are involved have some clout. So it brings this whole error of a legitimacy to it, and it was and is legitimate from that standpoint, but what I always questioned, even from the very beginning, is who is in control? Is it the white hats or the black hats? The white knights or the black knights? The evil or the good? So this was the battle along the way. Now, according to who I was dealing with, everyone was a good guy. Beyond good. Now, these people have really vibrant hearts that want to do really good things for the world. They're making plans and how they're going to take this enormous wealth that they are receiving as their own and do good things in the world. But always, and I like the term that Tank has brought up, was playing the tomorrow game. It's happening tomorrow. It's not. About 2 or 3 times a year, it's today. It's happening today, but it doesn't happen, and then it's tomorrow again. Tomorrow, and sometimes that sprint goes out to about 3 weeks or so, and then it gets quiet, and then again it's tomorrow. So this is the GCR, and along the way, I've been involved. I involved more not on the currency so much. I got into it a little bit later, but in the beginning, I was only dealing with historic assets. These are bonds that were given in exchange for fabulous treasure. It could be anything from gold, bullion, coins, art, silk, jewelry, artwork. Anything of value, they would basically take and give a piece of paper for. And those pieces of paper were due to be paid interest, and then receive those treasures back. It was kind of like a loan, right? So these pieces of paper were never honored, or somewhat honored in some circles. If you were in with the right crowd, right? If you were part of the cabal, you could exercise those or use those in some way in the world. So what I started noticing is that there was another voice out there that was saying that the government is being funded. When I know that the government has no money and they're not able to pull down the assets, and I've known that part, but some group out there is, and that was Manna World Holding Trust. And so I started to listen along the way, and it's over the last year, and really just start putting together their side of the story, which I had an open ear to and I listened to the point where they had funded back in October. I was thinking, I was really, we're in this again. It's the GCRs now and not happening, and I was really not even expecting it to happen, especially 3-4 years running not happening, and I saw what Trump was doing, and I said, Trump is another phenomena here that I think upset the whole plan that they had, and that they're operating under a new plan. Now, Tank and I have a little bit of a different idea about what that is, but that's okay. So that plan I felt was valid. Now, when I hear that Manna World Holding Trust is funding Trump, funding the U.S. Treasury directly, I was able to ask certain people who have contacts to verify, did the government receive funds into the Treasury from Manna World Holding Trust? And the answer is yes. And even not even just out of the Treasury side, but also out of the London banking sector, to verify not just that that was what happened, but also that the name on the trust is Kim. So this is at the where I'm saying, stop believing in the lie that they were a benevolent program, this GCR, and realize that, and coming from Tank and I guess from the whole Manna group, is that the idea is that there is a plan to eliminate the people on the planet, and the GCR was how they did it. That the release of all this money would crash the world economy, and they'd end up with all of it back anyway, and devalue all of that to nothing. And that was my opinion, is they'd eventually have to devalue all of it and cut off many zeros. Who wants to write out 15 zeros after every check? Just drop off 12 zeros, and so this was where I started saying we need to take some action. And then, of course, it was in timing with what was going on with Manna. They were just establishing their own. I think, what would you call it? Within the world, their standing is now very obvious with the countries around the world. That they can now have a stand and say, okay, we are now going to release funds to the countries and to the people. So this is where we've been working this last 10 days or so to put this information out, and there's a countdown that we're doing on this, because there was a 2-week countdown for the cabal to have one last chance to enslave everybody. Why they're giving for 2 more weeks? Hey, you got 2 more weeks to enslave us. Go for it, right? Why is that chance given to them? Sometimes I think people need to have a wake up call, and so there's a drop dead certain date, and then boom, after that. So everyone that was holding on to this, well, today we'll get paid. Tomorrow, today, everyone, they don't. It's the denial. So how do you get over denial? Is what you basically pick this date certain, and then everyone's going to move past it, and you're going to either have to move or you get left behind. So let's not be left behind. Let's move forward. All right. So that's my intro. So Tank, what do we have for news? I know we started talking just before this, before we went live, and we said, well, let's cover this on the air.
Yeah. So excuse me about my video for a second here.
Well, it's always nice to see your daughter's icon there, blowing bubbles.
Oh, yeah, she's a cutie. Um, so I I want to.
Not hearing you.
Most people. Can you hear me?
Well, you faded out for a moment.
So I want to get the essential information to people right now. So we can start with that. So the essential information that people want to hear, I would imagine, is what is the status of the trust's ability to get money to the people. So can you hear me now, Dan?
Yeah. It is a little soft, but I do hear you.
I don't know why. So, all right, be as clear as I can. Okay, so what has happened is this.
That's better. It's better.
Okay, good. The cabal has their own version of the kind of the internet, right? They broadcast through a carrier wave, and this is something that they would use to send their own out, right? Sending their own information around through various channels. It came up in discussion because Kim had successfully brought the money into the system into a level that she could see very clearly, but it wasn't appearing in regular accounts. So there was a question about it as to what's missing here. So what apparently happened is on Friday night they launched an overlay system using these carrier signals, and the carrier signals basically what they did was they basically created the illusion like the mirrors and kind of stood in the way. So this is probably why they're so amped up about their chances to successfully pull off the new system, right? And it's not really a new system. It's a system they've used in the background for a long time, and they just basically covered up, the real system, which is in operation, and they put up this hologram, basically like a. Now that showed in New Zealand, in London, in Austria, in Canada, in Mexico, and I might have missed one in there, but in those key locations, right? This showed up. So the transferred money is actually there, right? It's there right now. So that's great news because that means the money's in the system. Now they're trying, as always, they've come up with some way to block it. At the moment, by the way, I'm saying they always come up with some new way to fail, basically. So they're trying to block it, and in their effort to block it, this is how they've done it. They've created basically a layer, a holographic layer that's basically putting out a false ledger. So Kim is right now. She's the fact that she's identified it. I mean, in all the time I've known her, yesterday was the first time I had ever talked to her that she hadn't already identified the problem. That's how thorough the quantum system is. And so as of today, she identified it early this morning, and she's currently running tests on the system to make sure she's identified every place where it appears. And once she takes that down, which make no mistake, she will very easily, not easily, but I should never say it. She will take it down. I'm sure it's a monster. I'm sure it's very impressive. But she will take it down. And when she does, that should really launch, Manna Fest, right?
Yeah, Manna Fest.
Yeah, right. We should be on to the next level.
Let me go ahead and repeat this back the way I heard it from you, so that I can, in my own words, express what I think you just relayed here. So, in essence, what the cabal did was they put up a mirror system, a mirage, a hologram of the existing system back here, right? And they put up like something in the front of it that looked like this one. So even though Kim downloaded the funds and they were back here, in the front here, the people at terminals typing away, they didn't see it, right? Because they're working on the mirage.
Right.
Right. That's it. So that's what the current tactic was. Okay.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, and we know, at the end of the day, this is part of what really messes people up, because it's like, if they control things that much, how will we ever beat them? And that's often how I hear people get overwhelmed, right? So it's kind of like, okay, so what's the option? You know,
Well, I have an answer. I
we
have an answer to that.
no,
He who has the gold makes the rules.
agreed.
So even if the ones who are used to having the rules, it's kind of like I heard this analogy a long time ago, and I think it really works. Is you have someone who has built this home, right, and for whatever he's being evicted, right. So he's being evicted from this. So even though he's in foreclosure, right, or in the and he has no right to be in the home anymore, he just won't leave, and he doesn't tell his neighbors, and everything is just as it was. And he just gives his commands and does all things as though he's in control of everything. But in reality, he's on borrowed time. Eventually, not being able to download any more funds into, even buying food for him in the house, he'll have to leave.
Absolutely.
So,
Um, and that is 1000% true. And it's they've beaten us up years because there's no sense of urgency in anything they do, right? So they tell us they're coming through with something, it doesn't affect them, right? It's like project funding. I mean, people have been run out of business waiting on project funding
sure.
because essentially it's like, oh yeah, we're coming through. Oh, Tuesday. Oh no, Friday. Or it's gonna be Monday. Oh, they're gonna do it over the weekend. They've always said they're gonna do it over a long weekend, right? Things like that. And every time we would just, it's easy to wait just a couple more days.
Yeah.
And when knowing what's possible, right, with with good people having money, right? Like, I like the scripture where it says, "The prayer of a righteous man availeth much." So I always equate that to, the acts, the behavior. If you put money in a good person's hands, it's amazing what they could do. So that's part of the reason why so many people hold out, because because they're good people, um, and they know that and they play on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but to your point, and this is why this is so monumental, is that this is the first time in history where the person who's ultimately really in control, and at the very top level, who's really unraveling thousands of years of traps and uh, programming, not just on a computer system, but in the minds of the people. She's an advocate for the people, and she's uncompromisable. I mean, she is fearless and incorruptible. And they have given many offers, which is funny because she's the one who rightfully is the authority, and they'll make her offers like, "Look, we'll give you $500 billion," right? And she'll be like, why would I take that? I control the money. You guys can't get it, So to your point, there is no chance of her backing down anytime ever. So eventually she'll wear them down. So as far as the long game goes, historically, they beat us up with the long game, but this has been kind of long, and she's depleted them so much of any of their resources. They're desperately trying to find any criminal way they can to create money. So, but
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
it is amazing that we're uh, in this time frame where we can see with the QAnon movement, we can see with what's going on in just the mainstream media, especially seeing like Sean Hannity coming out and talking about we're starting. Everything's about to happen. All the stuff is coming down right now. So Sean Hannity's out there on the mainstream media saying that there's something that's happening. QAnon is saying there's something happening. But at the same time, we know that the money system has been part of the problem, and that's also in process with what Kim is doing. And they're fighting it, but if the money is already sitting there, it was just invisible, just wiping out that invisible system.
well, and that as far as it's amazing when you look at kind of what's going on. There's this because people lack this peace, right? they've gone so high. So there's so many people that think the good guys are controlling GCR. That's the good guys, right? And so there is definitely a large portion of people under that impression who think the good guys are the ones that are doing that. And the problem is that the good guys are not doing that. So it's weird. I'm not sure that's why I challenge a little bit with the QAnon narrative. I think they're right, but I'm trying to figure out who is it. Now I know there's a group that in the cabinet that Kim works with directly, right? And I know that she and Trump go back and forth through the interbanking system. But I also know, that Trump's been blackmailed at times with different things, right? And threatened. His family's been threatened several times, and he's got to make challenging decisions all the time. And he's like Indiana Jones when he falls down to that pit and there's snakes everywhere. That's like kind of like how Trump is right now. Like he's surrounded by snakes, and I mean, he's doing all he can to bring it out. I believe that, and I think there's some question. Even though he's seen that Manna has been the one providing the funds for the past year, there's still, you have people constantly pumping things into your ear about, well, she's this, she's that, all these different things. It's easy to think there's another option, but there just really isn't. At the end of the day, this is where the money is now. So even when the people get money, when the people so if project funding starts tomorrow, or even if just money's able to move in 2 weeks from now, project funding starts, I don't know what's going on with the government. I don't know. Because to be honest, at this point, you think about how disrespectful it is that she's funded the government for the past year, and all they had to do was just pay she's paid everybody in the government, but she hasn't got the fee. So I mean, she's been doing this literally with nothing. I mean, with just on a few. I mean, at times she controls all that money, and she'll be working odd jobs just to make sure she can take care of her daughter. So I always kind of laugh when people talk about how Trump gave up this lifestyle. What a hero! I'm like, if y'all only knew how heroic the behind the scenes the battle is. I feel like people might be give a little more credit where it's due. But that's me. So
Well,
so yeah, but she's brought the money in, and but that's for the people. Now she has said to me after this happened with the government, she told me it is all about the people. Which it's always been about the people, and she's always been trying to get the money. But keeping in mind, the government is made up of people. I know that people want to throw up, this kind of broad spectrum. The government's all thieves. Well, to be honest, they don't come in that way. They're not, and you have a structure in place. The best thing to do would be to take that structure and, there be some awakening where people are coming the other way. But
I hear you're right. That structure is there, and I was just thinking while we were on this, as one analogy that can be made also is this is like a hostile corporate takeover, where Kim is the corporate raider. Yeah, she has every right. Right, she bought up all the stock. Right, comes in with 51% and sits on the board and says, "This is what we're going to do now," which is completely opposite to everything that they've been doing. This was an evil corporation doing things evilly to, rape the world of all of its resources. And she comes on, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to be benevolent and give away everything. And so she has some resistance to that in that structure. Right? They don't want it to happen. They don't know any other way. Right? And for them to, even take a position that they're not in the power that they think that they are, that ruins their ego, right? It bursts their bubble.
yeah, no, and it's interesting. Their contracts, all the contracts they had, um, really expired in 2012, right? And they were given a 5-year extension to basically implement their new world order, or resolve and return the money back to the people, right? And so after 5 years, I think it was like December 23rd, 2017. That's when their 5 years was up, right? And that was granted them by Marduk, which, to be honest, is like kind of like it's kind of like this. I feel like it's the same thing that just happened with this 2 weeks, right? It's like you gave them 5 more years to enslave us, really. I mean, but you remember now. Keep in mind, in 2012, right? Everyone thought the GCR was about to go down, right? I mean, that was the big. That, from what I understand, the GCR, all these bond, it was, it was going to be like people were so excited. From what I understand, everybody I talked to was like, that was a big year. So the reason why it didn't go down is because the person actually in charge of the trust stopped them from implementing their agenda to reset the population. Like she stopped it. So that happened. And then ever since then, it's been a battle. And in this 5 years, though, really, they lost. They already lost. The fact that she's in that seat, they lost. But they're so dedicated to, you know,
To the point where she's funding the American government, that they've lost. Right? If she's the one that they have to go to, and she's the one that's going ahead and pushing the button, sending the funds, they've lost.
well,
And
and they know this too. The thing is that when I first started working with Kim, what they had told us was if you bring money in successfully into the United States, everybody will jump on board and go along with you. Now, I was with Kim. I'm like, we did this. One of our people, we had given out contracts to set up um, healing centers and distribution centers for Create Change, and they had. So I had, I grabbed about 100 people, and they were all over the place trying to set up accounts and work with banks and really have a hard conversation. So it was a big educational piece. So we had somebody successfully get all the way in with SunTrust, and we brought them the whole way up. Now, the breakthrough of that was that everybody was watching because Kim broadcast it, right? She broadcast it through all these intelligence channels. And when she brought that money in successfully, everybody saw it. It changed the game, right? Because that's what they said. Once that happened, they said they'd all go along with her. But to be honest, that was just the beginning of the fight, So it's like they're never honest. So you can't rely on anything they say ever because it's like they don't care. Like I know we said that, but we're gonna do this instead. And then they have the nerve to come back constantly. They're like, okay, let's talk now. I'm like, how do you think you have the right to come back to the table and negotiate after the last negotiations we made? You already stabbed us in the back. So and so that's why I'm saying this situation, and Kim, to her credit, her patience with this and her resilience is incredible. I mean, if nothing else, that part of her is superhuman because if one of us was part of this, I mean, if it was me, I don't know what I would do. Because I feel like she holds back a lot of what she could do that the predecessors would do. A lot of things they would do to just control people's minds, she won't do. She's not influencing anything with the system, right? She's not putting out messages the way they did, and frequencies, and I mean, there's frequencies that you can somebody could call you up, drop a frequency on you, and all of a sudden you're blowing up a school. I mean, it's that serious, right? That exists, and they did that kind of stuff to us forever, right? They started wars that way, and they can send that frequency out through the airwaves, and I'll do all types of things, and they were doing that to us for years. So, but she will not be part of any of that. She won't do anything like that. She makes sure. So my point is that she's held back. She's held back for the good of humanity because you can't violate these core natural laws and ethics, and be out of line with, you know, uh, the greatest good.
right.
That's the burden of being the good guy, right? The good guy has to find a way to overcome impossible odds, and they have to consider all the collateral damage along the way. They can't just wreck things down and not care. Like whereas the bad guys, they'll be stepping on dead bodies as they they go to steal their money and they don't care. So
Right.
that's the obstacle, right? So
But we're right at this change right now. After all these years, 5 more years of all this back and forth, you've got Trump in there saying, okay, you guys got 2 more weeks. All right. So yeah, I know it's very strange to say, okay, you got 2 more weeks to try and enslave us, but all right, if we're really, now I've got 4 more days, 4 or 5 more days for this. So uh, after that, what's going to happen? What did Trump say?
So what Trump did is, my understanding is that he basically told them, and when I say them, I'm referring to uh, the Dragon families, the Rothschilds, the bankers, the deep state authorities, I guess, whoever they are, and basically told them, this doesn't come in, you're fired. That's it, right? And from what I understand, that's an agreement that everybody in the world agreed on, right? So they all agreed to give them 2 more weeks, and if they can't pull out the GCR, they're fired.
And
And I,
this Mirage system, hologram system that they implemented, was their way to really make sure that they're able to do it, right?
oh yeah, well, that part, I mean, I didn't confirm that, but it seems pretty clear to me that
It
that's what they
seems,
were doing.
I mean, I'm drawing some lines, right?
Yeah,
This implemented now on Friday. One week before it's supposed to, they're supposed to be able to prove up. Well, if they had the Mirage in front of everyone typing at their terminals, and they saw the cabal money come in,
hmm
right? It's for the GCR. Everyone would just run with it, right? Under this illusion.
right. And for the most part, people don't even know what the issue is, right? So, um, we, they wouldn't even know what to look for, most people, right?
Sure.
And they wouldn't care. If they could spend money, they wouldn't really care. So, um, and they could easily have brought in the exact fake allocation numbers and fake everything, and it could have been very fragile for the most part. It just been kind of there, and all they had to do was see it, and
Right.
that would have been enough. And the worst part is, all they had to do, if it was able to stay there for a couple days, oh my goodness, we'd have to come back for 2 years to do, to correct it. So I'm very happy that Kim figured it out and tracked it down, because you know what I really they are at a breaking point, right? They are used to having unlimited amounts of money to do things, and it's even limited their quality of false flags. Um,
Yeah, they're really jokes. They're false flags, right? Because well, a part of that is also the QAnon a great awakening of the people journalists, right? That are now digging. As soon as one of these things pops up, you say, "Whoa, look! These are the same crisis actors in this over here in this new false flag, and they were in this false flag, and they're on the opposite side of the countries. How did that happen?" Right? So
yeah, I know. That part about QAnon, I love. I mean, I love when they point those things out. It's like, you know, is this just the most unlucky person in the world? you know,
Well, it's actually a group, and they're the same people that are yelling in the crowds, or the same people in the backgrounds. They're the actors. They're the crisis act. They bring them in. They fly them from place to place. They do their part, right? And
right?
this. I mean, and again, we're talking about mirrors, but they have to tell us what they're going to do to us, right? So think back to was it I think Dustin Hoffman in that was it Wag the Dog? Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I know the movie you're talking about. I'm not sure what it's
Yeah,
about, but go ahead.
but Wag the Dog was one of those films that they said we're just acting, right? They made a whole fake war, right? And they put all
Oh,
the
yeah,
people out front, and they said and that's that's the the tail wagging the dog, so that's they told us what they're doing to us
right.
back then, and I don't know, that's a early 90s film, I think, something like that. So the media is out there, I think Fox caught CNN out in the front of in the front of the CNN building. They went outside in the
Right,
front, set up a green screen, and they had the people
right. And
actually.
you see the woman who's supposed to be in like Philadelphia, the one in Arizona, and like you see the same van drive by both screens. Things like that. I mean, it's so transparent. I mean, it's a shoddy production. It's funny because I was thinking about that. Like people were getting on my case about like the sound and things. I'm like, man, like we're just kind of just pulling things together, doing our best to just get the truth out any way we can, and everything's against us.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they got everything for them. They can't even get it right.
Well,
So
let me show you something.
we got going on there.
This is what I do for my stand.
Yeah, of course. Yep, I get it.
I got a
Yep.
shoe box, and two phone boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just makes it a perfect height for me to go ahead. So this is, just what we can do, move forward. I mean, the production values and the content, right?
That's right. That's right. And you know what? And that would be the deception, right? And by the way, like I don't mean to be insensitive to that. Like I really do try to, like I went out and got the best microphone that I could buy, like I do my best to give you my best, right? Because I do understand that, little things can distract people and we don't want it to be clouded, right? And so, well, look, you do the best you can. And I would ask other people to do the same, do the best you can. Find a way to be honest with yourself, be critical of your own actions and behavior, and really be considerate of the things that we're talking about. Um, I have no I have intentionally made it a point not to make any money in any way um, with anything pertaining to the GCR. So products, I don't solicit donations. I don't do advertising even. Now, people have to survive, and so do I. But the reason why I've done that is because I saw this a long time ago that everyone seemed compromised, particularly in the GCR kind of intel world. And I'm like, somebody has to be able to find the truth because they're not saddled to anything, right? So outside of actually redeeming my currency, that was the only thing. I was tied to the event. I didn't have anything working along the way. I wasn't. I made sure not to have my own call. I come on other people's calls, right? And because as soon as you do, and you're making money off it, you take a place that's supposed to be temporary, and you make it a kind of a permanent dwelling place, right? And a lot of people did that, and I think that's tough, and then the more
It
you
is
know
that.
about this system, the more you
And,
know about it, you don't want to make money off of anything. It just it all feels like it's dirty, to
right.
be honest.
And well, that's one. I really get that side, and I appreciate that. And I'm looking at the people that I know that have been in the GCR that are the good-hearted people. These are all people who have made fortunes in their life, right? But now they don't have a fortune, right? But they still have the good heart to do something, right? And yeah, and everybody, no matter at whatever level, they're struggling. Well, if you let's say you had a house and a car and credit cards and an income, whether that income level was at say $30,000 a year or $300,000 a year or $3 million a year, your house, your debt, your car would all reflect that. You still have all these basic things, right? But the quality of the food you're eating is different at each level. The quality of the house and the car is different at each level. And so we're all in exactly the same place. Nobody has any money.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
and we're talking, it's paying your bills. What is it? So I just heard the statistic. It's I forgot the number. Such a high rate of people are 3 months behind on their car payments. I think it was like
Oh,
40% or some crazy really big number.
yeah,
Uh,
I believe
and
it.
so, but that's across the board because the money has been squeezed out of the system, right?
Yes,
And
that's right.
and with no money coming out from Manna, right, into everybody's hands, and the cabal not being able to create artificial money without allocation numbers, there's no money. So
Yep, exactly.
everybody is in a state of being struggling. So anything, what I've been working from is, I did a few things along the last few years since, when I came to the Philippines, I had, 4 businesses in America. When I went to Swiss Indo, all my bank accounts were shut down for no reason.
Wow.
All the business accounts. They gave us 30 days to close all the accounts. No one would open another account, and no one, even a friend of mine who had connections in the treasury, he's an attorney, he even tried to find out, and he tried to talk to people. No one could answer why. It was so very, very strange. But coming here, I focused on the GCR and going there, to China, and spent my time doing that. And I also worked on another form of GCR, which is the Kringle coin, TBC coin, as a grassroots system, right? For not because I don't want to wait for the GCR. I wanted
To your credit, by the way, to your credit, you know, that's
not
uh,
waiting. Yeah, what's the dream, right? Eliminate world poverty. That's the mission statement of Kringle Society, and so this is and no, it didn't start as Kringle Society. It was first just a very basic membership agreement and privacy, kept in the private jurisdiction. But the mission statement was to end global poverty, and a way of distributing coins, and literally there's enough coin and value in the way that if it fully implements, it could absorb the world economy. Because there's that much in numbers, right? Big numbers, 1 billion coins, each one worth 1 billion grains of gold. Maybe, if you were translate that to dollars, that's $2.7 billion per coin times 1 billion. As a 2.7 with 17 zeros after that. So it's a big number. So, but yeah, so I've still focused on doing this. I work with people to help come up with abundance-based models, and I come up with another form of cryptocurrency, doing mining with Bitcoin, because everyone wanted to do mining with Bitcoin, and I never wanted to do it because of the power requirements until I checked into seeing that the solar was actually at the state where you could literally, the numbers worked. You could literally build enough solar out there to keep the mining going, and you could make money at it. So I stayed focused on this segment of it, but I was making a lot more money than what I've been doing for the last 4 years. This is a much more of of a mission for my life, right? To try and defeat the cabal. I've been working on this as far back as I can remember, and I was, part of, understanding the scarecrow entity back when I was 16 years old. All right. So I've been, trying to figure it out and how to move forward. And I even had the understanding of making the this technology privacy issue. I saw that coming from the beginning. Since the late 80s, I could see that on the horizon. And and everyone would give up their privacy. I recognized it back then. So I was trying to develop a new system. I spent $250,000 on software development to make that happen, and file for patents. And that was good to have a cryptocurrency in the back, but everyone would be able to exchange and make businesses, and be social networking, but own all their own data.
yep.
Right. So that to be on mission is what I'm doing.
Be
And
on
that's
mission. That's Dan. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to say this, whether you mind or not, but I hope you don't mind. To anybody out there watching right now, um, to the various critics of everything that we're doing, right? Because I know how they come. I want to point this out because what you're witnessing is something that is truly, undeniably benevolent. Um, by doing this every day. Now, first of all, Anybody who knows me, I'm constantly trying to use ways to get through. In this, I can count the number of people on one hand who've actually stepped up. Now, here Dan is in the Philippines, doesn't know me from, you know, from Barack Obama. Now he has a business and a way to survive, right? That these calls are not helping. These calls do not they do not contribute to the success of that business. And he has dedicated 4 hours at least a day for already the past however many days. So you gotta ask yourself, what is the point? And I think it's of great value when you have someone of that integrity who's willing to literally put their own needs aside, right? Their livelihood aside, so that to get the word out. Because what he's really looking at is when you are driven by a mission that is bigger than yourself, even if you want to be self-serving, you can't. It's just hard to do. And so I got to tell you, if I haven't done it publicly, I want to tell you how much I appreciate that. And anybody out there, I hope that you do too. You know, because I know I talk a lot, and I want to be clear, like giving me a venue and an opportunity to share these things to a larger audience and to learn from you too is hugely beneficial. And the combination of experience the two of us have, I don't know how many people really appreciate how diverse that is. That we're hitting on a lot of levels, a lot of levels.
Oh, frozen. Well, thank you, Tank, for that. I appreciate you your words to me on that, and I appreciate what we've been doing here in getting the word out. Now, obviously, Tank has some sort of internet issue right now, lost connection, so he's frozen. But this is really the point of this is to get awareness out, and I'll take this moment to say, please share this, share this video, copy and paste the link into your Facebook, copy and paste your link into any social media that you have, and ask others to do the same in the comment on your own posting. Just say, please share this, copy and paste it, and ask others to comment, to share this, so that it's a way that we can break through the shadow banning, and we know that this is happening. As I was saying, I was talking to Tank the other day. I'm looking, we had 30 some people in the chat room, but the views were 2. So that's 15 times suppression, just if you look at it from those numbers. So we have no idea what our reach is happening right now. But to make a commitment, we said we're going to do this for 2 weeks. Why? Was really because of this 2 weeks that was given for Trump. Of course, we're going to, do some sort of shows ongoing after this and talk about. But will it be every day? It's quite a commitment. I've made these commitments before to make sure that people are able to get a very important message. I did 93 days straight at one point, and that was for migration in the TBC coin and exchanging wallets, because it was so important to get the information out and to give people the channel of information, because we were upgrading the technology. So went from a Bitcoin clone to a new blockchain that is probably the third fastest on the planet, right? So it's right up there in the fastest ones, 3,000 transactions per minute. So this mission, right, is really needs your help. We need to work together to provide this information to everybody so that they can know that there's something happening. When the project funding starts moving out into the hands of people, and they're able to start doing things, the faster that we get people understanding what's been happening, the better. Now, if it's true on the QAnon side, and we're going to see indictments happening this week, I think so. I think it's, within the next 10 days, we're going to see a lot happen. So 5 days on this window of time that was given by Trump for the cabal to enslave us for the next 500 years. These long-term contracts that we've done. Supposedly, these have been around since the time where the planet was devastated and we needed help, and said, "Okay, we'll help you, but you got to do things our way." So this way has always been kind of a parasite. We've always been fed off of in everything that we're doing on the planet. It's when you're dealing with people on a very friendly way. When you really are take yourself as children, and you're really not, and everyone's coming from an innocence, where you don't know the bad things that someone will do you, and you don't build your defenses up against the rest of society, and act in this other way. I I think that we have our nature is to be loving towards one another. Our nature is to care for one another. Our nature is to be inclusive of others. It's one of the other things where they divide us by race, by hair color, by height, by weight, by the intelligence, by uh, athletic ability, whatever division that they can make, they do, because together we are strong, and when we're not together, we're weak. So we need to keep together and just come together, and not out of violence, but realize that sometimes we have to be firm and strong about these things. So yeah, um, I would encourage. So the tank is still not back, but let me just say I'm going to slip into a commercial about what I have been doing, and that is the Kringle coin / TBC coin. Why I say slash? So the original name is the billion coin because there was a billion coins. There is a billion coins, and but the value of that coin is regulated by the members. The more members, the higher the price. Since it's not set by a market, it doesn't do this so dramatically. It has a little bit of that because our actual daily price is attached to gold. And if gold is doing this, we're doing this. But we have a tendency to go up because the membership keeps going up. So that keeps pushing the price higher. So the value of one TBC coin is very, very, very high. So we're always dealing in the small part, the pennies to the dollar. Like a penny is a small part of a dollar. So instead of dealing in dollars, we're dealing in pennies. We're dealing in kringles. So I encourage everyone to get their free kringles. You get points that you can redeem during our redemption periods. There's no company selling coins to you. It doesn't happen that way. The only one that you can buy coins from are other members, such as myself or any member who's in it. You can do an exchange. You can the idea is use it as money. So you exchange goods and services for kringles, and it happens. People bought cars, they've bought houses, land, dinner, computer repair, you know, rented houses, all sorts of things our members have done because they can value what we have, which is a private currency. And it's limited and it's structured, and we're actually twice the size as Bitcoin, believe it or not. You know, in the rubric that where we look at things from the cryptocurrency side, that there is the number of wallets. So Bitcoin has 22 million wallets. Ethereum has 35 million wallets. Well, we have 50 million people that have a kringle.cash account. We have active users in Bitcoin. Well, those are people that are using their wallets, right? So if they have 500,000, we have 200,000 that have paid $10 to access their lifetime wallet fee. So this is what we look at now. People who join, they have cookie points, and those points can be redeemed in the coin. So we have these people that are out there that know of us more than they know of Bitcoin, because we're grassroots. We push our member our membership up by bringing more people, by offering the free gift of coin, to wait for us to develop a a whole worldwide own economy, right? Where we're exchanging amongst ourselves. That's what the goal is. And once we get into where we're, say, my magic number is 100 million. We get to 100 million people that are actively working with the coin. We will have an economy that you can do anything in, right? So I encourage everyone, the link is below in the description. Please join, pay the $10 lifetime wallet fee. That's a very small price for you to be counted. You will, because you joined and paid the $10 lifetime wallet fee, that value of the of the TBC will actually increase because you joined. That you add your value when you join. And please participate in the other promotions. You can get many cookie points by just doing things such as doing one broadcast like this. That you get cookies. All cookie points can be redeemed for coin, right? Again, no company up there selling coin to you. You earn it by just making our network bigger. But please participate with the members that are helping train you. Buy $100 from them, and you'll then let them explain to you how that purchase of $100 can turn into one full TBC coin, which is now valued at $8 million. So, and no, it's not easy to go ahead and exchange that one coin for $8 million because we're not there yet. But you have that, and wait for us to get to the stage where we are at that level, right? So please just at least join and take advantage of the free coin. If you want to participate, please go ahead, and then the link is also below for you to go to my website, buykringles.online, that will teach you how to, or I will show you how you can even join from that page, or you basically, it says got cookies. You just click there and you'll go to the site to register on the kringle.cash website, and then go ahead and purchase $100 in TBC/Kringles from me, and we'll go into start training. I'm happy to talk with you. My Telegram link is below. You just go ahead and install Telegram on your phone or on your computer. And that's my preferred way. I do have an email address. It's Dan Lutz at protonmail.com, protonmail.com. And it's just my whole name, Dan Lutz, DANLUTZ, at protonmail.com. So please participate. I'm also starting a Bitcoin mining system that is based around doing our own energy production. Solar was the beginning. Now I've been working with a friend of mine who is part of a new hydro energy system that we're making arrangements. They're going to join as founders of the AbundanceMine.club, and we're going to be doing Bitcoin mining with all of their energy production. So those are the things that I'm doing. This is how I've been working on actually taking action in the world to eliminate poverty. Right? The GCR is one hand. The rest of it is coming from the Kringle Society. It's built. If you want to, look at how this is set up. You want to look at the Holy See of the Vatican. Skull and Bones. These are societies. They have their own jurisdiction, their own law. That's how this is set up. It's in a private jurisdiction, so it's not under any country, not taxable, not a security. So please participate, and this is one way in which people can actually make an effort. So anyway, I'm done with my commercial. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and look at our chat room, and if I will go ahead and post. Second here, post my my link. So if anyone would like to join on, we can come on and talk. I'm going to share my screen, and we will then go over the chat room. And I do this because a lot of people don't even know that the chat room is there. So they see a video and they never know that the chat room was there. Maybe they're watching on TV, they don't get to see the chat room. So this way, at least they get an idea what people are talking about and encourage them to come in and participate. I also then be able to, since we have no moderator, to kind of pull questions out and send them to me. We take that as a way for us to answer these questions. All right, so let's go ahead and share the screen. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to blow this up in size so it's easier for everybody to take a look at what's on the screen. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the top of the questions. There we go. So no dragons, no Freemasons. Well, I understand. Though I have a personal love for dragons. Again, it has nothing to do with the cabal. I was just born a dragon in the Chinese astrology. And so I've always had this liking of dragons. But I know what you mean. And I know a lot of Freemasons. And and my one friend who was in the CIA that he died 4 or 5 years ago. He also expressed to me that 90% of the people in the Freemasons don't even know what goes on at that level. Oh, hello. Someone joined in. Hello.
Hey, hi Dan.
Hey, how's it going? I just ended the screen share there. So what's your name?
My name is Tui.
Tui.
I messaged you yesterday about what the sovereignty questions that I had.
In Fiji.
Yeah, right.
Just a little interesting thing. I really didn't know much about Fiji, but the billion coin I was talking about, Kringle coin, our price change happens at midnight Fiji time. So I says, oh, what time is it in Fiji? I'm always asking myself, what time is it in Fiji? So I know you are about 4 hours later in the day for me. I'm in the Philippines. Yeah. So.
Okay. It's about 2:30 here in Fiji. PM.
What time?
After lunch. 2:30.
Okay. All right. So right now for me it's 11. So it's 3 hours right now. So we're 3 hours apart. Tank is back. Tank. This is the gentleman, Tui, that has sent that question to me, and I forwarded it to you. It was
Hi, Tank.
Sovereignty in Fiji of the indigenous peoples there.
Mr. Tui, nice to meet you, sir. So
same to you. Same to you.
Now I read your question, and I just want to clarify if I can repeat it.
Uh-oh. You're freezing out, Tank.
Okay, I'm about to pass through something. I might freeze out. Let me know if I do. But Mr. Tui, if I understood your question correctly, basically you said that you are part of the indigenous population in Fiji. Is that correct?
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. He heard you. He said correct. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that you are looking to declare your sovereignty, correct?
So, yes. I'm actually working with the rest of the chiefs here in Fiji, and we're trying to reach out to you guys, to Kim, and to actually find out on the processes, on the steps towards actually doing that or declaring sovereignty.
So,
yeah, so
so basically, what Kim has done is she has put out a the option to all of the, kind of the current governments that have been controlled, right? But
Right.
the indigenous people, I mean, that is a whole different ballgame. So, she's got what I know is she can grant sovereignty, right? That's authority belongs to her. So, if you let me know what you guys are working on, if you got, I need more details as far as how to present it to her.
Yes.
But she's
Okay.
definitely of the
Yeah.
mind to return sovereignty.
Field of science and chemistry,
Like you.
Yeah.
computer
So
science,
that's the goal,
math,
no matter what. So she will
math,
definitely. I'm sure there's a way to do that. There's a process, and the people that were working with her on the process previously, they
Right.
kind of deferred their loyalty for a little while, but I believe they've come back around our way. And they're the people
Right.
that hold the original tribal records of the original 5 tribes on the planet, which
Right.
I know about. You probably know more about it than I do. But as far as that goes, so there is a whole process, and the 5 original tribes are still, when it comes to
Right.
giving planet the authority of the planet, there's not just Kim. I mean, it is Kim.
Right.
She is the one with the most human DNA according to the original humans on the planet. But then there's 4 others
So
who
we
have
know
a high
we know
percentage.
that.
You know that.
Yeah. So basically, I feel sorry.
No, I was just to say, how do you know? No, how do you know that? I mean, that's interesting for me because I really don't know anything about this.
He's one of the originals.
Oh, okay. So basically, for the past 4 years, we've set up. I mean, for thousands of years, the people here in my country have been waiting for the Manna, and we even named an island. If you can Google it up, it's called Manna Island. It used to go around. It's something like a myth here, and we know that one day that it will actually return. And so as soon as um, uh, the the trust was named Manna in 2017, all the chiefs um, figured it out, and they were ready. They're getting ready for it, but we weren't allowed to actually reach out until the past few weeks. So we we understand. We know that right now that Kim is we recognize only her as the most sovereign. Um, just like what you said about the DNA but the reason why we're reaching out is it's something to do with an agreement that we did a long time ago. Our ancestors. That's why we know about the Manna, and we've been waiting. And so we formed a company in 2015. The company is it's a cooperative company that like just to like a foundation for everyone be able to get everyone in the country to know about the changes that are happening, and to prepare them and create an awareness. And so basically a week ago we were given a permission to actually reach out to the trustee, to Kim. And so I've been following your videos for a long time now, especially Tank, and I've been wanting for a long time to sit down and talk about it. Right now we are having meetings every day. There are chiefs all over the country. We are having meeting and just so that's why I messaged Mr. Dan yesterday just to ask him if you guys can talk about the steps on how a country or a nation or a tribe can regain their sovereignty, or the steps. Yeah, so that's basically.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you guys are on the right track. Kim hasn't come out to give a clear path on that, other than tell me exactly what you're talking about. I'm assuming you're probably talking about the original document that's signed on the kangaroo skin, right? That went around to kind of
Yeah.
the other piece, right?
Yeah.
which I'm into. I mean that in the most respectful way. I really, there is a,
Yeah, no.
there is original tribes, right, that are out there that are really the ones who are, I mean, kind of rightfully claim and return the planet back to natural law. I was contacted by somebody from
Yeah.
one of the tribal leaders from the Turtle Islands is what they called it, which and they said that that they never gave up the control of the air is what they told me back then. But I'll tell you what, now that I know, like you have my information, I hope. If not, Dan will give you my number. You can contact me through WhatsApp. That whole process, I don't want them to derail it, in any way. So the little bit I do know, I think we'll probably just keep offline, man, and keep private, and we can.
Sorry, can
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't get.
Dan will text you my number directly, and we'll talk about it offline, and I'll get clarification from Kim because I know there is a process that she has, and it's very specific. And I know that there's a big
Sorry, Tank,
fest that's supposed to happen.
I think I lost you there for a minute.
Okay. I know that there's a process that she's described. She talks about the prophecy of the fifth element in the warrior. And she has told me that there is 5 tribes, and there is 1 fifth element, and there is 5 warriors, and there's 1 fifth element and 1 warrior, and there's various very specific ceremonial things that go into all that. And just recently, they've started to reach out to me, so I'm assuming that I'm supposed to connect everybody together on that. So after we break through with the, what I expect to be very, very soon, the next few days, hopefully, I would imagine that I will get more specific instructions that we could talk about offline. So I'm sure Dan will give you my number, and you can reach out to me directly, and I will get those details from Kim directly immediately for you.
All right.
I'll
definitely.
text right away.
Let me ask you. So was the Fiji Islands tribe, is that one of the 5 tribes in the original on the kangaroo skin?
I don't know. I was hoping the gentleman could tell us. I'm assuming yes. If their tribal leaders are talking about it, I would imagine.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think I'm going to restate this, and
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we may have a delay in the call going to Fiji. So maybe I think.
Thank you.
Can you tell me whether or not?
Thank you.
All right. So can you express whether the Fiji indigenous?
Kind of lost you there.
I noticed. Yeah, I think we're not having good signal to Fiji right now. So I was asking, are you is the indigenous people of Fiji one of the 5 tribes that signed on the kangaroo skin?
The agreement that I'm aware about, everyone, it's not, it's kind of long. We would say from our point of view, like from here in Fiji, we see the agreement as I'm a Fijian, a native Fijian, being part of we call it the tall tribes. There's a tall tribes here in the Pacific long ago that includes all the Pacific, the Maoris, the Aboriginal culture, in Australia, the Kanaki, the people of Vanuatu, the part of Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, the Hawaiians. These were all part of one tall tribes. Our language is just the same. We can actually, I can go to the Maori people and I can stay there and we can understand each other. So this was the original tall tribes of the Pacific that maybe I failed to mention some of the Micronesian part of it. And yeah, so the whole Pacific, we here in on all the chiefs here in Fiji, we understand that this is just one big family, and so that's one we um, like I said, we've been waiting for it for a very long time, and all the chiefs from last year, from 2017, they've recognized Kim, and they've because I'm part of my family's one of chiefly families here in Fiji, and so we all of them recognize Kim as the most sovereign.
Frozen.
And they understand what the law of the seas is, and all these the English language, and how
I think we're having a bandwidth issue. I suggest that you turn off your video, right, so that you're not broadcasting on your camera, so that maybe save some of your bandwidth.
You can speak, yeah.
I think he's frozen. Well, it sounds like they're aware of the agreement of the five tribes, and they consider themselves part of that larger group of all these different areas, from Hawaii through Micronesia, through Fiji, through Papua New Guinea and Australia. So, and I don't know if Philippines is included in that, but I think probably it seems to be. I know the Philippines. I say there's a connection. That's very interesting that they recognize Kim from all this time. So amazing, the things are coming together. So
that's really amazing. I mean, that's something that's there is this incredible hidden history, which I'm fanatic about understanding it, but it's you can. History is one of those things where you need it from multiple perspectives to get an accurate rendition. And it seems for the most part, there's not many versions. And the one we have is completely perverted usually. Thomas does a great job of really putting a lot of, deep things out. But I like to be able to cross-reference things. And sometimes things Thomas shares, you can't really cross-reference.
Yeah, well, I enjoy Thomas's shows immensely, and I do try and delve. And I don't want to go too deep on some certain things, so we don't have too much time. But I did take a look at a couple of the mud flood type things. But yeah, I really don't. Oh yeah, we're back. Okay. So we missed you. So I'm glad that you made it back on the air. So what I said while you were gone is that it looks like Fiji considers themselves part of a larger group that was one of these tribes that signed. Are you frozen? I think he's frozen again. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe he can come back on. I suggest again, if you do hear, turn the video off on your camera, and you may save some of your bandwidth and may be able to talk. So we also have Paulo on. He was on the other. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, Paulo?
Oh, you're back. Julie. Oh. Sometimes, this is part of what happens when
yes.
International communication. We're having.
So you are here in the Philippines.
So, did the Philippines included in these tribes, this greater tribe? I don't want to say anything in a stamp. Waiting for
I
him.
know. Me too.
Well, I jump in when you can, and just answer as best you can. But try to keep speaking, so you'll hold the microphone. He fell off again. Yeah, at least we got some good a good amount of detail in the beginning. So I think he's probably what they're doing is throttling his bandwidth at this point. He's expended his daily allotment. That what happens a lot is once you get past a certain spot, they allow you to connect to the internet, but you just can't use it, right? Other than maybe getting some email and things, and that's probably what's happening with Dewey right now. So, but this is a very excellent, you know. Information to understand, that there is other people out there that are recognizing Kim and the trust and looking to get their sovereignty at this point. So we'll get the process down. And I mean, is the process listed out anywhere, Tank?
Not to my excuse me, not to my knowledge. Part of what I know is that a lot of these the original, because there's other people with similar, they have like 80% and 60% of the original DNA, and from what I understand now, each one of them hold a position. To be honest, they should be holding a position with the trust, but they all basically, from what I understand, each one of them basically said, we'll come on board once you do your part, right? So that's why Kim has done a lot of this alone, because they do hold a role in a position, but they've basically allowed her to go that route, because a lot of these guys have really been beat up, over the years. The various indigenous tribes, they've been beat up in many, many ways, is my understanding. And so they've intentionally kind of, what was his name again? I'm sorry.
Tui?
Tui.
Oh, Tui. I'm sorry, you're here. Tui. Yeah, to exactly what Tui is saying, right? So, I mean, so what he's saying is a great indicator, right? Because these original tribes are much more in tune with the kind of natural laws, the natural abilities of humanity, right? And so,
yeah,
and there's a power there, right? That is really innate in all of us. But so that being said, like they've kind of held back though until Kim gets this far. So Kim's always told me that once she's done. So if they're allowed to reach out, that to me is a great indicator that they are sensing something, that they know she's done.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Is that fair
So
to say, Tui?
we've been waiting for her to actually fulfill her, I would call soul agreement that she did.
Yes.
And and so now that the planet is ready, and she has done what she's almost completing what she's doing. That's why we've been given permission to reach out to you and her, and to let her know that she's not alone in the current changes that is happening. That we are here, even though we are so far away. We are always spiritually by her side, and watching all the works that she's doing. We are aware of all these I would say burden that is actually caring for everyone. And so our elders have asked me, because of maybe because I'm good in technology, to actually reach out to you, Tank. And I'm very thankful for today, for you guys, for doing all this other conference that you've been doing, and enabling me to actually reach out to you. And I couldn't even believe I'm talking to Tank right now. So I've been watching you for the past 2 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's an honor to. Yeah, past 2 years I've been following you and Thomas Williams, and all the development that you've been doing. We knew that the what you may call it in you call it in our language the yellow, the yellow. The yellow is the AI that you guys call it an AI that is in charge of the whole planet and all the ley lines and all these.
Oh, like the toroidal, like the Taurus energy fields kind of thing.
Yeah.
You call it.
So
What did you call it? I like that word. I never heard it. Yeah.
So
Hello.
we understand the role that Kim is actually playing in this big change, because it's been a long time since this has come. And I've been listening to you guys, and you guys have been talking about the projects. And I look around here in Fiji, and we are doing this. We're living in the village. We don't need money. We don't need all these things. Even here, I am at the farm, and we live like truly free. And but there's just systems that you guys have been talking about that's been uh, sneaking into everyone's, and the education system, the United Nations, and teaching everyone to value something different, to value something outside of themselves. We understand that the value comes from within. There is a life force that every living thing has, and this time, this awareness will come back, and people will remember who they are. They will remember they are not different from this planet. They are not different from the air. They breathe it. They are not different from the water. They are not different. They are the planet, and I mean, this is the reason why I'm actually reaching out to you, so that all this awareness can be fulfilled from within and also outside with what Kim is doing, and people will be able to liberate themselves. Yeah.
Man, Tui, I am so glad you reached out, man. I can't even tell you. Like, first of all, the honor is mine. Please know that. I'm a crash course in these things at best, and I'm just doing my best to do my part. But I certainly everything you're saying rings so true. I know exactly what you mean, and I do believe that there is a transition that will take time, and there's an integration of this the old world with the new world, and a lot of changes need to take place, and kind of get back to the natural, innate, organic technology that all of us are really conduits of, and not and to your point, to talk about that,
it's there in
everybody's. Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Sorry, there's in my language, Manna means the exact same thing that you're talking about. Manna means the life force within you. It means the life force within everyone. It means the life force that works together with everything and is all just one. Since we've been taught to look outside of ourselves, we lose that connection to everything around us, and we think we are in a world. We tend to forget that the world is us. We are the plants. That's why we can eat them. It's just the agreement long ago. That's why we can go and fish in the sea. My ancestors, they don't need to go and fish because they live in harmony. As soon as they come to they have the manna. It's called a manna. When they come to the sea, the fish will just give themselves up. They'll just come close, and then we just have to pick them up. But now we've lost all that because people have changed their value. They tend to value things outside of them, like money, like all of these things, and then they try to value their love out of it, and so they've lost that freedom, and they've lost that true essence of what creates everything around them, and they sold it, and they've given it value outside of themselves, and they lose their connection to all this nature and the natural relationship that they must have with what they eat, what they drink, with the air they breathe, and the place where they stay. Yeah, so it's gonna. I know it's gonna take a while to actually remind everyone else that this new change that's the reminder is just to go within you and try and remember who you really are and your connection in your physical body, the connection to this planet. And because that's what everyone needs to learn. They need to learn that in their life, they are the most important thing, nothing else outside. From then, if they figure that out, then they will be able to treat everything outside of them the same. But if they don't understand that, is if they don't understand who they are, and they won't be able to change outside of themselves. They'll always be a slave to it. They will always be a slave to it. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically the reason why I can talk a little bit more longer, but that's basically the reason why I'm reaching out to you, Tank, especially, and to Kim, and with this one, the chief says, let me know. They've told just to let you know that we will stand with you. We will stand with you in these great changes that are coming in. The 12 tribes here in Fiji, and all the chiefs and all the people, and just to let you know that you're not alone, even though you might feel like it sometimes. The whole world is against you. So that's the reason why I've been following you guys, and I've been giving you like support, spiritual support, you may say, from where I'm. And so
That's
I
beautiful
wish
too.
you all. I'm really thankful with everything you guys are doing, with all those gifts that you are expressing out of your love, out of the love that comes from within you. I know there's a future in front of us that these things won't become. It won't be scarce. People won't be doing what they're doing now, and they will be able to look within, and then they will find that this whole planet is inside them. It's their senses, it's what they see, it's what they hear. Yeah, and so I guess basically that this is the reason. The reason why we are reaching out for the sovereignty. There's a spiritual agreement that has to be done to that has to be you might say cleansed in a way. That yes. So this cleansing, it has to be done physically. This is the reason why the spiritual agreement is still binding towards everyone on the planet. And Kim is the only one that can actually give that authority, because the trust that she's in control with, or she's been given that authority to look after, it holds these spiritual agreement. And we need to be able to, in order for everyone to be free, we need that spiritual agreement to be, in a way, we call it cleansed. It's really hard for me to translate it in English. Yeah, so that's the reason why
It's kind of it needs to be revitalized. The original spiritual agreement of the planet, and it encompasses the original creation codes of humanity.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate the lack of the words too. These are things that are, the reality of Kim's role. What Kim has always talked to me about from the very beginning, that people don't necessarily appreciate, is these arcs of the covenant. That there were 7 arcs of the covenant, and they were made from a very specific type of alloy, and they were strategically placed around the planet to
all over the world.
Act as conduits for the source energy, or the torus energy, and they maintained the torus energy fields in an optimal state. And in so doing, you had the trees were bigger, the people were stronger and lived longer. There was no disease. All of those things are that is her real role. Now, people criticized her when she came out and funded countries for the high-speed monorail, but the reality is she's been given the formula to create the alloy of the original Ark of Covenant, and the train will be made
and
of
get
that
right.
And that'll restore the torus energy fields on the planet. So I'm
Mm.
with you, man. I mean, that stuff's amazing, and I know it's true
We
because
understand. Yeah.
what they did was what they, what people don't appreciate is that these arcs had to be stolen first for anybody to take over. They had to be moved,
Yes.
and that's why we have
Yes.
the
Yes.
state we are at. So even in
Yes.
this,
Yes.
what they did was, if you look on the Ark of the Covenant, you had an angel on either side. And on one side was
Right.
Michael, the warrior, and the other side was Gabriel, the messenger. And they portray it
Right.
inaccurately because they have these two wings face forward, but in reality, they arced up over top of each other and they formed a heart on top of the Ark of the Covenant
Mm.
to show that it was love that sat in the seat on the throne
Yes.
for all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Because
That's it.
because that
Mm.
tabernacle pattern is the exact pattern of the human body. So then what they did was they locked the Ten Commandments, right? And they locked these tombstones, right? I mean, when you get the
Right.
Ten Commandments, but they really are supposed to be a heart, because the real law of humanity is written in the heart and in the mind of the people, and it's
Yes.
natural
Yeah.
law. It's not a list of things to do. But they took that, and
Yeah.
so what they did is they bound everybody by death, right? Because that's why they took those two tombstones and they locked it
Yes.
inside the ark. They also took the golden pot of manna and they locked it in the Ark of the
Yep.
Covenant. And what they did was
Mm.
they hid the treasure inside, right? And they hid that the real governing nature of humanity is love, which is the most natural thing for all of us to do. We
Yeah.
naturally love. We naturally care for each other. People in their most natural state will naturally take care of each other, but they portrayed it like
Yeah.
that we're savages, and that's just not
Yeah.
true. So
It's funny you. Yeah. It's funny you were talking about love. When if you really look and actually watch how everyone does everything, especially the every awareness on the planet, they do everything out of love. Even the
that's right.
selfishness is also out of love.
Yep.
Selflessness is also out of love. So every single thing, that's the problem that's happening on the planet. It's not a problem. It's just a wrong way of expressing that innate ability to express that love from within you. So it's not balanced, it's one-sided, and that's why we have all these things on the planet. And if everyone can actually just balance that, nothing they will be able to do. Will solve every problem on the planet, because there is no problem on the planet. We are the one valuing everything and creating all the problems and the good things and the bad things. Yeah, so um, like I said, the change from within, love.
That's right.
Yeah.
I talk for a long time. I've known this, that these these oppositional forces trying to limit the lifespan and limit the potential, limit the abilities of humanity. They are,
Yes.
when we look at them constantly as these oppositional forces, but in reality, all they do is the depth of their darkness just magnifies the
Yes.
light in us. You take a black and white piece of paper, or you take a white piece of paper, and you take an artist with
All
a
right.
with a charcoal pencil. The darker he draws an area, the further that pushes back the depth, and the more it brings forward the light. So these forces,
Yeah.
what they have done is they have defined us. They have allowed us to really show exactly what's in us.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity that I think many people miss, is instead of being overcome by
Yeah.
them, allow them to define
Yes.
and magnify the substance of who you really are. And so I'm with that, man. I love it, Tui. I'm so glad you called in.
Well, now's the time
Thank you.
you can focus on the light, and I really appreciate you calling in, because this has added so much to people's knowledge of what's going on, and how important it is for us to communicate and let everybody know about these things. So really, Tui, thank you, and please,
Thank you.
yeah, contact anytime. We're happy to bring this information out, and that's what we need.
Thank you.
Again,
Thank you. It was really an honor to actually talk to with you guys, especially you, Dan. Both of you. Um, uh, thank you so much for this opportunity. the question. I know now that I'll be able to follow up with Tank on the steps, on the process, and actually get in touch with the trustee. Thank you, Dan, for creating this platform. I will be following you guys for the next few days on your plan, on waiting for the 15th. 15 it is 15.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yes.
15.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
episode is
But anyways,
but but I think the 15th is going to come a little sooner. So we'll have a few more days after that we're on this. Then we'll see what we'll do after that. I'm sure we're going to continue doing some sort of continued show, and we'll just figure out what that looks like in times and things like that.
we've also been following the GCR agreement that was done long ago, and we are well aware on the involvement of the hierarchy that are not on the planet, and so it's first it's an honor to actually just be involved in talking with you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, I will leave you guys to the discussion, and I'll be attentively just watch you guys from YouTube. If yeah, so sorry, Tank. There's just one last question. I want to question if you can just clarify on the Kingdom of Manna, and if you can just talk a little bit on that, how the differences has.
I can talk about this now. So, the Kingdom of Manna, what happened is that Kim established. She had a security guard who a security guard. She had security who was with her for about 4 years.
All right.
I'm not even going to say his name because he was just a body double for the real individual who was a pretty hardcore, ruthless assassin, from what I understand. And basically, what the idea is that they were to Kim was declaring this individual the sovereign king of the Kingdom of Manna with an island that she had purchased, and that
here in
island
the Pacific,
right,
in Papua New Guinea.
Right. So that island was purchased, and what happened was she had worked with this individual, and she had built an entirely separate financial system with an entirely separate bank
Right.
with the intent to be able to move money freely throughout the world. And the system was made by some of the top level programmers / hackers in the world. And come to find out, those hackers were secretly programming from one of the Bush ranches in Paraguay. And at some point, she had actually allowed them inside the system. She had really given over her trust to this individual, and their whole intent was to basically take the money and assassinate her. So she cut ties with them, of course, and that's why that happened. So now, since then, that the Kingdom of Manna has been disassociated altogether with anything to do with Kim. And there is some misunderstandings with that with various people. So when people see the Kingdom of Manna, that is no longer recognized as a sovereign anything by the Manna World Holding Trust or by Kim at this time. But that's what they were. That's what they were. But don't they've deceived many people because they've said that they're the ones that have control. And there's many charlatans who say that.
Yeah, they've reached out to us to the chiefs from the end of last year. I was talking with the King, His Majesty. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it when we can actually have a call and we can discuss a little bit on it. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Kingdom. Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that I actually someone started sending me information about the Kingdom of Manna. I think after our second episode, and I looked at the website, but I really didn't. It just seemed like one of these other people claiming to be, the ones.
Well,
Hmm.
they actually did have I mean, this individual did have an affiliation with Kim, though. That is accurate. If I mean, I can't remember the exact date, but I want to say March, April, maybe April of 2018. I did
Yeah.
post the actual documents of the agreement, minus Kim's signature, on the Speak Project. So speakproject.net, I actually put it up there so you can see how Kim acknowledged them,
Right.
and then the process is, this is part of the sovereignty process, right? She acknowledged
Right.
this individual as sovereign, and the nation, the Kingdom of Manna, and then they
Right.
acknowledged her as sovereign, and that's where you actually see that she is the sole sovereign monarch of the planet, and
Hmm.
and he was in at that time for a short period of time, was acknowledged. Now, she only broke that relationship up. That was I mean, it was, I think in 2017, as late as November, December. She had just cut
Okay.
that tie because at that time, because she knew that in 2017 their 5 years would be up. Okay. And the 5 years they had to basically restore the New World Order. So she had built this bank
Right.
knowing they wouldn't cooperate because they had never cooperated. And so lo and behold, when that agreement was up, she had already identified that they were trying to steal from her. But what they were looking to do is basically take all the money from the system and basically enslave the planet again.
Right.
Under a new kingdom.
Under a new kingdom, right?
It's
Yeah.
this will be a really great movie.
Yeah, it will make a great movie. It will.
Yeah, I'm sure Tank will be the star in that.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
Yeah. No, but yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was able to actually clarify some of the things that. Yeah. So we have been exchanging. Um, exchanging emails with the Kingdom of Manna and the chiefs we met, and then thinking that it was the same as trustee, or they're working together with you guys. And so this is the reason why I asked that question about the Kingdom of Manna and how you.
Yeah, I know. I've been contacted by a few people from around the world with similar situation. I mean, other tribes doing the same thing. That there was a misunderstanding. They believed that they were still associated with Kim, and they are not associated with Kim. So I'm happy to clarify.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, good to establish, what the correct pathway to sovereignty is, and write that out in a way that makes it easy for the sovereign people. I mean, I worked with the 110 tribes here in the Philippines. This was an indigenous groups that were recognized by the Philippine government in a way of registering them into their system, which there were way more tribes than 110, but under Ramos, they had basically gathered them all and put them under one roof. And I think it was actually a way of removing their sovereignty. And I had pointed that out to their king and said, when you registered under this corporation, you lost your sovereignty. Because the Philippine Constitution recognizes indigenous people as being sovereign. Right? So in the Constitution, recognize them. So for you then to take register into the Philippines Corporation, the Republic of the Philippines Corporation, they lost their sovereignty, and that's what I was pointing out to them, and they were reestablishing themselves, trying to pull themselves back out. I guess in a way.
Yeah.
Also, they never got the money they were supposed to get. So the Philippines Incorporated was supposed to be providing for them, right? That was the reason for it. why they would do it was they were supposed to get this money, and they never did. Maybe they got
Right.
here and there, but of everything that they were supposed to get, they never did.
All right.
False.
Yeah. Just on. Yeah. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I just said that just another false promises. Always dangle a carrot and get people to do things. Like, here's the dinar, here's the zim, come and do these things.
Right.
And then you take it, and then you don't have anything. It's another false promise.
Yeah, I've been following the economic environment here in Fiji, and what you guys are talking about, and what Tank is talking about, the liquidity rate here in the banks. They're close to zero. They're not giving out loans. 2 weeks ago, we have the IMF with a report and the request to the government to pay up the debts. So this is partially the reason why we actually reaching out to you guys, to Tank and Kim. It's clear that the government is not sovereign with all these debts and.
And the IMF is it's a global terrorist organization. I mean, it's by in reality, we've all been duped to respond when they show up. And now they've threatened every government in the world. They've shown up with their IMF mercenary military, right, threatening governors and bribing people, all types of things, and that's what happens. Kim says that at this level, it's all about the 7 deadly sins, and eventually a lot of people just fall off, right? It's only really a small portion of those who understand that there's nothing that they can offer us. There's nothing that they have that we need, right? And obviously, you guys have realized that, but they do have big guns, and they come in and make a lot of noise. But my understanding is a lot of that right now has been immobilized, and they don't have the same power. The only power they have is the narrative. They've sculpted the narrative so that we are all consumed by it. And as long as we believe that to be true, that is our reality.
Yeah.
But like to your point, that's not the reality. Our real abundance is internal.
Yes.
Now the money should just be a reflection of that, right?
Because, so yes. Sorry, I can't get you, Tank.
No, that's all. So
I think this.
So basically, that's what's happened. But I don't know what level and who you're talking to, but the IMF is the global contracts they had are expired. They have no control, and they have no money. That's why they're calling in their debts, right? Because like you take Argentina, right? Argentina. That's why you had the treasurer of Argentina step down, because they took out they promised Argentina they would give them a $50 billion loan, but they required them to give them $10 billion up front because they're broke.
Right.
They have no money. So now people don't want to believe that because we're so used to being afraid of things like that, like the IMF, the debt we're paying. All that is an illusion right now because they don't have a dime and they never controlled it, to be quite honest. It was always a source above them. And that's the hardest thing, is because we're all looking at what we've seen, and because what we've seen is the same thing. We've got to realize that what we to your point too, we have to remember who we are. And if we can just remember that we are the caretakers of this planet. We are one with the planet. We are an extension of that life energy, just expressed as humanity. That's all it is. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Good point. So this basically what's happening right now in the economy, and we have our public servants having problems with because there's no money here in the government. So the government is trying to dig into the what is actually equivalent to your security, social security
Oh,
funds.
yep.
We have something here, so they're trying to use that to actually run the government, and people are not getting their full pay and all this, and it's because I've been following you, Tank, and what's happening, and I can see it here as an like it's there, it's an evidence. So there's no doubt that what Kim is actually doing is happening all over the planet, all over the world. And I know those people who are in control are losing that. Um, just like you guys are saying, are losing that fight. Yeah, and so
Yep.
yeah. For about the kingdom of Manna, like
Yep.
sorry, like you said on a few days ago, on uh, how people can actually get, I know, to learn to learn to self regenerate. There was when the kingdom of Mana reached out, they wanted to help. I mean, humanitarily, but it forbids everyone from learning how to actually learn to be, to be self reliant or self regenerate, and they need to, like, through experience, not like I mean, for someone to come in and just help them, like it limits the way that they can actually learn to be independent, to be stronger. So they are not in the victim way of thinking all the time, because that's one of the big problem right now. In especially here, the governments are waiting for money to come from the United Nations and all that. They've been going to conferences for global warming and climate change and human rights, trying to get money, but there's no money coming in. Yeah, so that's basically what's happening here. Um, yeah, like I think your Tank, that idea of creating an environment where people can learn to regenerate themselves, like to understand their body and the self regeneration qualities that the physical body has, if it's given the chance, and then they can regenerate their relationship with the family and like over here the clans, and then grow up until we reach the government or the nation level, nationwide.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful. That's it's all about tapping into the reality of who we are, and I one of the things that I think is important, it's to be able to integrate um the the what we consider modern technology with the
Yeah,
biological technology that
yeah,
already exists, and
yeah,
that exists within us, but we've been programmed. We've been programmed to think a certain way, that we're limited by all
yep,
these things, and
yes,
and that is really, that's the key to everything we're doing. And I, and I'm
mm,
and I'm pretty sure, not the original tribes, but I'm pretty sure that has to do with the Atlanteans. That part of what they were supposed to do was to integrate, you know, um, this technology
yeah,
to avoid a threat just like this from happening.
yeah,
But I don't think they were successful. So that's why they put us in these kind of time loops where we've all been repeating the same
uh,
thing over and
so
over.
yeah, maybe this time we can learn and change it and
Well,
come up with something different.
well, I'll tell you this too. I mean, just because you're on the call, I know that Kim was told that, right? Because
Mm,
now what they have done traditionally, now we've never made it this far, okay?
yeah,
Now,
true, that's true.
and this is the chance. This is the opportunity we have. Now, I know she was told that this is the time we're successful, and it has to be that way.
Yes.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
And part of that, part of the reason why this is the chance we get. We got all this way, right? Now, what they would normally do, what they've done like 6 times, is they've killed off, Kim, thinking that they've found someone else who can access the trust.
Right.
And not realizing that it's it has to do with the DNA, that it's an anomaly that happens every 2,000 years, right?
Yes.
It's not something that
Yeah.
is common, and you can't just replace it. And then once that happens, you basically, the assets now are untouchable and owned by, they basically get turned back over to the previous owners, right? Because no human being can access them.
Yeah.
So because no human being can access them, in killing Kim and taking Kim out, they ultimately damn all of us to destroy ourselves, And I mean that's one of those like way out there, like super red pill kind of things, damn. But that's just the reality. I mean, that is the truth,
Yeah.
And so where we're at is, I'll tell you right now, Kim has disassembled their system. They didn't even know this stuff existed. They didn't even know. As much as they did know was given to them to control us, right? But all they were just the head slaves. And their whole system was based on war, and this new system is based on genocide and slavery. And that's the plan, is the reset. And I say this, like when something's written in stone, it means it's absolute. Well, that's why you have the Georgia Guidestones. They wrote the plan in stone, and they don't even have the ability to adapt or to deviate, because they all operate with this kind of a hive mind. So they just keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and that's why they're so
and by
kind of easy to take down.
Because they're telling us what they're doing to us. It's the informed consent. We're consenting to it, even though people don't even realize that that's what they're telling us. Right? We're just agreeing. Yeah. And I don't know. I believe in a genetic anomaly that is programmed into the DNA to occur. And and if this is the time where that one person is now in place to now make the decision, it's either this direction or that direction. We're at that point, and we need to choose to go in the form of love and life and freedom and abundance, and not choose to kill off Kim, not choose to decide to go into another debt slavery system. So we need to now focus on positive direction, and this is what we're doing here on this broadcast. Get the word out. Please take this link and pass it on. Put it in your Facebook, put it in your social media, and ask others to do the same. This is how we break through the shadow banning, get the word out.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so, well, this is going to be fun. I already can tell. Thank you for joining in, because this really get this message resonating in everybody's mind and heart, and they feel that everyone needs to be free. Every indigenous group, wherever you're born, you're indigenous.
Yep, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
And
thank you so much. Yeah,
we all get to realize that we're all indigenous of Earth.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So thank you for the last time. Thank you again. Thank you, Dan.
You can stay.
All right. Tui, we'll talk soon, man.
All right. So, well, we're good. We're only 2 hours in. We've got another 2 or 3 hours to go.
Great.
So we've got a good start here. Now
I'm looking forward.
Paulo joined. He hasn't said anything yet. You have a question to add?
I don't know if Brazil's on. He's always having technical difficulties.
No, I say we're gonna go ahead and mute.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Then.
Oh, uh, no, I was I was talking about our other caller that has joined us. But and as for you, I was saying we'll mute you so that your friend, your rooster friend, doesn't interrupt the call.
Cockroach. Love it.
Yeah, but it's not muting. Maybe you need to mute on your end. I don't know.
There we go.
Yeah, I can't mute it. Anyway.
We'll figure it out, man.
Oh, now I can hear.
Oh, you can hear me. I was saying I was trying to mute you so that your friend, the rooster, doesn't interrupt the call. There, you're muted now. Oh, there. See, this is the big delay. It's probably going to unmute and mute and unmute.
It's fine.
It's okay. We're good. All right. So, well, it was a very big topic, sovereignty, right? And the idea of individual sovereigns versus a country being sovereign. And then I guess in the case of these corporations that are pretending to be countries, their sovereignty. Can a corporation be sovereign? Is the Holy See sovereign? Is a society sovereign? Is Skull and Bones sovereign? So these are some of the things that are all come into question for me when I think of sovereignty, because when I was young, I had this. I said I was addressing the birth certificate entities, and I was 16 years old, and I'm thinking, well, my understanding of the Constitution, everything is that we are all sovereign. We're all kings because individuals are sovereign. But now in the world, everyone's talking about the sovereignty of a country, sovereignty of this country, sovereignty of that country. So can both be sovereign? Or is there one higher than the other? Is this sovereignty higher than this sovereignty? I know there's levels of sovereignty because you even said that Kim is the master sovereign. Was it master sovereign? And then below that was a sub-sovereign.
She's the sole sovereign. So she's the only one right now.
And how do you spell that? How do you spell that sole sovereign?
SOLE, I think. Like solo, like the only.
Yeah, okay, that's solo. Okay, so I want to be. I'm just trying to be clear, so not SO.
No, I got you. Yeah. So she is the sole sovereign, and in that, one of the things that is really profound is, and I think it is. I think I have a post on the Speak Project is that documents that was presented to President Trump. And also every nation in the world, from what I understand, where she's acknowledging and giving over the sovereignty and back to the United States. And she actually awards the land that Washington, D.C. is held on, gives that back to the United States. She forgives the debt of the Federal Reserve, right, that is owed
to her,
to the Fed, that is owed to the Federal Reserve, but the Federal Reserve is held within the trust, and the trust is the sole owner of the Federal Reserve, which is why she was able to revoke their charter and basically declare them a failed asset. But in that, it gives the United States back its sovereignty, right? And there's a process to go through that they're avoiding, right? Because they could just go through the sovereign process, and all of the power of these other characters literally is eliminated. But they've held so much power, and there's a belief that they're gods, right? That's how they've enslaved everyone, because they have done things that they had access to certain technology, they've had prolonged life, they've done all types of things that has impressed us along the way, like historically, right? And because of that, people think they're gods. They think they're more than what they are. And Kim has been very clear, and it takes that kind of fearlessness to look at them and say you're not gods, they're just mortals, right? And on top of that, you're evil. Matter of fact, for the most part, I mean, their ideas, their concepts, their actions, they were the best ones at following orders, right? they're mediocre at best. They're actually an insult to what it means to be human, because the very nature of humanity is that we're creators, right? We are innately creative. We naturally connect to the land, and everything they do violates that. They don't want to create. They don't want anything made that's new. They've suppressed every technology or kept it from the people because they don't want us to thrive. They've like to your point of what they did in the Philippines. They do that every time this anomaly occurs. They're trying to kill off the one, right? Like, they're trying to kill that person off. So they come up with some, corrupt way to take them out.
Right.
I mean, probably they thought it was, I'm trying to think of the time frame, but around the time that Kim was born, they were probably looking for up in the Cambodian, Vietnam kind of area. They were probably looking in that area because that's when you had the Cambodian Holocaust. Now that's a little bit before her time, though, I guess. So, but you can see they would do these things. They were looking for this genetic anomaly to eliminate it, so it didn't take them, because they know there's the chance that when humanity is restored, right, the original human being of the planet, that they have the authority based on these treaties. And you know the treaties that you talk about, these are 400, these are infinity agreements. They're 499 years, right? And when those are up, like that's the window that we have. And and what we would do is we would agree based on, they would be telling us through various methods how they were enslaving us, and we just thought it was sci-fi. Meanwhile, they were telling us exactly what they were going to do. You know, so that's what Fiji's waiting for, and everybody else who is in tune with that, you know, original, concept of humanity.
Okay, so you were talking earlier. Just said that so those people in control are good at following orders, but they were serving their gods, right? Which they then claim that they are God, right? So they're, to the people that are below them, they are God. So they want to remake humanity in their image, and their image is ugly. Yeah,
Yes, that's true.
it's evil, and they, whether you want to talk about cannibalism or all of these sexual perversions, or the just not valuing life, not valuing caring for others, not valuing the what the creativity is. That's when we were talking about technology. I always said, I know the people that are the true wizards of creation and technology, but they were never in control. Right? They were always working for someone, right, that had a lot of money, right? And then they took those inventions and they put them out in a way that was, like nuclear weapons, right? If you're an inventor of the nuclear bomb, you have some, may have some issues with creating weaponry that is going to kill a bunch of people, right? So it's the same thing with these technologies. Whether the cell phone, we're looking at, okay, well, I've got this. This is a Huey, right? And no one knows how to pronounce Huey, but that's what they said in China. They were calling it Huey. So, but to know that the technology in here is more of everything about this is a spy device. It's a weapon, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this technology has two sides to it. It can be used for good or bad, and so we have to stand up and do everything to create our world that is going to be for humanity, right? And not following these lines. So not honoring their gods, and their god is in this case money is their tool, and they worship it as a god. And we can use money as a tool. Right.
Well, I mean, and they worship. I mean, they actually worship, the darkness. They worship Satan. I mean, it's a, they,
pretend it's not just in stories. It's just really what they're doing.
It's really what's taking place. I mean, it's not, you take Ted Gunderson right now. Ted Gunderson, was an FBI agent in LA, and he was exposing these things, right? And he was going in and showing, look, there's tunnels underneath the schools where they're taking your kids. They're, and you're like, when you said there's 2 million kids that go missing every year, how is that possible? Because as a parent, if your child is missing, you would lose your mind, right, to get them back. And there is no pain worse than imagining your child being hurt by someone, right? And Jude Amber Chase, who is she's one of our Create Change ambassadors. She traveled around with Ted Gunderson, and she spoke with him because her own husband started to find that they were trafficking children, and so they killed him. And they took her. She had twin boy, not twin boys, a boy and a girl, or twins that she was adopting, and her nanny stole them to traffic them. You know, and it's horrifying. And it's one of those things where and she was like she was like, it was like what's the guy, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and all these people were involved in like trying to rectify this and expose it. And it's so terrifying. Now that was all suppressed. Now we have the real original story that she never published because she was advised not to. And but now's the time where we can talk about those things. But I think one of the things that's really important to realize is that if the mass consciousness is consumed by the atrocities and the crimes that have been committed against them, what will happen is it won't be even feasible to move to a place where our culture is based on love, on trust, on kindness, on the innate qualities that we all naturally are drawn to. I mean, we naturally want to be at peace. We naturally want to be together. We naturally want to take care of people, and be able to leave our keys in the car and or leave our doors open. We want that. We want to be able to be together. The problem is we've been trained by constant focused acts of violence and theft and evil, and there's always an enemy that we're afraid of, right? They're always feeding us with an enemy. And right now, to Tui's point, the current enemy is the environment, right? They're making the planet the environment, the enemy, right? And so now we're saying humans are the enemy of the planet. So we have to reduce the carbon emissions, which is the most retarded thing in the world. There's 30,000 scientists plus that have already signed this to say that is not true, because in reality, the natural homeostasis of the planet would dictate, as I breathe out carbon dioxide, the trees give off oxygen. The more we breathe, the more trees, the bigger they get, the stronger they are, the healthier they are. In reality, the more people, the healthier the planet's going to be, So, but their end up goal, if you look at the actual carbon emission standards that have been defined by the UN sustainable guidelines, they say that everybody has got to reduce their carbon emissions down to zero. The only way to do that is to stop breathing. Right? Yeah. So you got to think, now that's the goal, right? That's what they're promoting. It's like, who's really on board with that, right? Because if you're not in those meetings, and really, even if you are, if you're not in those meetings, that means you, right? They want you to stop breathing.
Right.
So we got to just have an honest conversation about like it's so far out there that we're just like, that can't be the case. The United Nations is good, right? Because they've convinced us that, I mean, think about it. It's such a nice thing. United Nations. It sounds so nice, right? That right. Peacekeepers, and there is great people with the United Nations, right? They're doing good things everywhere. There are good, but it's the top. It's the top of that organization.
Always the top. It's always where they take hold. And as we've learned in this system, the only way to get to the very top is to evil your way up. The more evil you,
right.
you get your way up. You step up. I mean, was it Roger Bernard? Was that his name? That was the Dutch banker that ended up rising to the top and being evil until he got to where he had to kill a child to move to the next level, and he just couldn't do it, right? So he did so many evil things, and he said, I was happy at other people's misery. I had abusive parents. I had, all of the reasons why, he hated humans, hated people. So this is the people that are risen to the top. they hate us, right?
And that's true. I mean, they would be there in these meetings calling us eaters, and because think about it, that's what the term consumer means, right? They're making us, kind of uh, fat and lazy and not sensitive to spiritual things that are not mystical. They're they're just the real science, right? Energy is real, right? You can't, energy never ceases to exist. Just because your body ceases to exist doesn't mean the energy that you created or that you are ceases to exist. It is eternal. So it doesn't matter what anyone's religious beliefs are. At the end of the day, you can't argue that energy is constant. It will always be. So you will always be. You might change shape and form, but you won't stop to exist. Now, the energy that's created from a constant being constantly bombarded with fear is really only effective because of the way we've been poisoned. We're poisoned in our media, we're poisoned in our water, and our food, and our air constantly. Now, you take someplace like Fiji, you know, Tui doesn't look like he's poisoned, right? Tui's like, look, love and light, everything's good, right? Because in Fiji, it's like probably amazing, right? But in a lot of other places, look at Fiji. I mean, it's amazing. It's so in a lot of other places though, like we're so consumed with, you know, they hurt us into the cities, and then they poison us and beat us up. But now, what I believe is in this time, what Kim has done is now she has taken all of these digital devices and made it so they're actually drawing in source energy. So because of that, even the things that they think are tools effective at poisoning us have actually now flipped on them, and they're now a tool that is empowering us, right? It's rejuvenating us, even though they're trying to kill us. So that's why more and more people are waking up, because we're, touching it. It's so funny. I'm at a gas station. Y'all in these places are like paradise. Oh man, shoot. It'd be easy to do it from there. Try coming to New York and doing that.
This is paradise when you have everything around you so vibrant, with food, right? It's just growing around you.
Yeah.
I take a walk in any direction, I can pick from 5 different fruit trees. Another tree, just the green leaves are used in the food, right? Just as a vegetable. You know, it's just dig in the ground, you pull out roots that you can eat, and no
Yes,
and,
indeed.
and no GMOs, no insecticides or pesticides, fertilizers.
I know.
So I mean
Man,
that was a thing. A reason, really, one of the things, because I was taking so many trips back and forth, maybe 3 times a year to the Philippines from America. And when I was here, I'd eat and I'd feel full. I go back to the U.S., I'd eat, and I'm hungry, like everything's Chinese food. Always hungry, like 30 minutes later, because there's no nutrition.
no, that's true. Well, and that now there's no nutrition. They actually use certain chemicals, and they block your natural response, so that when you're full, your brain doesn't know. And this is you know this is a common method used, and for the longest time, that was serving them. But then diabetes and obesity got to be such a drain on the medical system. They actually started to, they pretended like they were going to change, you know, um, and try to acknowledge it. But I mean, it's ridiculous that there's. I've talked. I mean, I've worked with doctors for years in many, many, many different ways, from chiropractors to acupuncturists to medical doctors to surgeons, and I'm amazed the diversity. And they always go back to evidence-based medicine. But when you give them evidence that's contrary to what's making them money, that's where the reality comes in. Because what Western medicine, anyways, they look at who's successful financially as being an excellent doctor. But as a patient, I can tell you, I remember this drug came out. It was called Actos, and Actos was on recall. And the drug was, oh, no, I'm sorry, not Actos. It was Avandia. Avandia was on recall, and it was causing people to have major cardiac events. The same category of drug was Actos, and it was actually preventing cardiac events. And I was at a speakers conference, and the doctor got up to speak, and he said, "Never mind that; it doesn't matter." I'm like, "You same liars on your evidence-based medicine. The evidence shows it's causing heart attacks, and there's another drug in the same category that's reducing. So like the gap was like 90% difference in your chance of having a cardiac event based on the drug. And I'm not even for the drugs, period. But this doctor, he's the professional. So what's going to happen? Who are they going to believe? So doctors kept prescribing the drug, and people kept dying. And that's common. That's a common practice. I mean, that's just my silly personal example. I mean, the real things they do are horrendous. They show the baby powder had like rat poison in it. It's like, if there's anything that should be pure, shouldn't it be baby powder? I mean, please.
Powdering your baby with rat poison, it just doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem right now. I feel like we could do better. I feel like we could do better. Yeah.
Well, we've got a long way to go, but I think that we can change it very quickly. Because it takes them a lot of effort to keep up a mirage. It's not real, and as soon as we start, showing where the truth is, shining the light, then all of the shadows will disappear. So that's the focus of what we're trying to do. Get this message out. Please, again, copy and paste the link, pass it on. Get this out there so people will know. We're at 120 people watching, right? And so that's fine. And we're getting about 2,000 people a day looking at the video. So we can bring that up to where we get into the millions. Can you think what we're going to be doing?
Listen, I'm just going to take the part where Tui is talking. I'm going to clip that little video. That joker is going to go viral. Everybody's going to be talking about Tui.
Yeah.
in no time.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to pass out the video, and I say tune in at this time mark, right, and see how the Fiji people are getting sovereignty from Kim.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that, right? So it's the catchphrase. So say tune in here, and then people will come in and they'll go to that time code. But you can make a clip of it too as well.
Oh yeah, man. Look, I don't like I don't. As long as the message gets out, put it out. Even other people, if other people you can download and clip it, go ahead. Go ahead. Reference back to whatever, but make sure they know where to go. It's like a good restaurant. You could have a restaurant that's beautiful on the outside and the food is terrible, and right next door you got an old Shake Shack, but it's got the best food in town. Eventually the place with all the nice decorations will go out of business, and the Shake Shack will still be there.
Yeah, 50 years.
Yeah, around forever, man, forever.
You have good food. People keep going back. They don't care what the place looks like. I mean, to a certain extent, but people will stay for the good food. And so where we want to provide good food here, right?
That's right.
We want to nourish the consciousness of what we're doing, nourish the heart, nourish what we need to do is get this information out. So that's why anything we can do to get people to realize that the GCR has been a big lie, and we need to get everybody moving that has been ready to go, get them ready and rolling, with their projects. Forget about having to exchange pieces of paper.
Yep. Man, I know they asked us. We were asked to talk about the Jubilee, about that concept. Is that something?
Sure.
A lot of people. Okay, so to speak to, feel free to chime in on any of this, Dan. But
well,
I do.
Well, I know that they run it on a 7-year basis, right? For when every they have a big, I think it's I don't know if they call it the Super Jubilee or something like that. Every 70 years, right? And they're supposed to wipe out all debt, right? And it's a concept that basically that they used to hold to, but they haven't been allowing that to happen. Because if you wipe out all debt, you wipe out all control of those people. And this system has been designed by its words and original inception point of their ideas is we will control the world by lending money to countries like Fiji that will never be able to pay it back. And plus, we'll be charging them interest, not just that they're going to lend the money here, give us back the same money. No, they're going to basically create a system in which they will never be able. They are a debt slave country. So all countries are debt slaves. So the system is designed for control. And if you had a jubilee and wiped out all debts, that means personal debts, corporate debts, countries' debts, there would be no control. Everyone would be free to do whatever they wanted. And that's what they don't want. They lose power. And it's about power. Ultimately, if you have control, you have power.
Yep, you're right. Now, my understanding is a little bit different, but same print. I mean, no, I mean everything you said I agree with, except for the actual timing. So it's seven in at least in the scriptures it's this way. Is it's 7-year cycles times 7. So it's every 49 years, right? And there's a principle of 490-year cycles repeated, right? Now you have what you have in the the biblical scriptures, I'll say, because there's all types of ancient texts that have value. But what you have is when the Messiah came in. So this is this 2,000-year anomaly. Now, in the 33rd year, whatever it was, when he was crucified, right? Now, you have this principle where it was the disciples. There was 120 disciples who went into the upper room, right? Now, just the principle is that they were in a higher state of expectation and understanding, right? Now, first, that principle, I'd say that's how we should all be right now, in a higher state, an elevated state in our expectation. So they would wait in that room. Now, they were not told how long to wait. They were just told to wait. But what happened was that after 10 days, on the 10th day, they knew that was the Jubilee. And that was what that would be was the 50th year, right, of Pentecost, right? So Pentecost is the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Now, so what happened was, and this is what people are always talking about with the Messiah. So you have the Messiah, he gets crucified on the cross, right? He willingly offers himself up, right? Stares in the face of the one who had the power to crucify him or not, and says, "You have no power over me," right? Except given to you by my Father. So he was basically saying, like, I'm only here because I chose to be. Basically, is what he's saying, right? He's willingly doing this, and so then he's put in the tomb, then he resurrects, right? And then he's walking with 2 of the disciples, and they don't realize it's him because he's a quickening spirit, and he's a spiritual being walking with them, or potentially a multi-dimensional being manifesting as flesh. Then, like later on, he shows up, he just shows up without opening a door. He just shows up in the midst of the disciples, right? So, and then he spends 40 days showing many signs and wonders, right? And so these signs and wonders were designed to show everybody that he had resurrected from the dead. So then on Pentecost, what happens is and then he ascends up on a cloud, right? Now, all these, you can look at all these things as principles, right? So everybody's got a different interpretation of these things. I'm not dealing with those right now, but you can see how, it's symbolic of the Holy Spirit in your heart and mind, because the cloud is likened unto your brain, right? And the Messiah was crucified, right? So he was a red man, because they literally ripped all the skin off his body. So he was a red man, and in your brain you have something called the arterial circle of Willis, which is a stick figure of a man. That's how it's described in medical books. Stick figure of a man, and it's a red man in a cloudy substance. So you have the Messiah as a red man, symbolically ascending on a cloud. So then, after 10 days, the Holy Spirit is poured out on the disciples, and suddenly they're conscious of who they are. Suddenly they're conscious of who, what just happened. And suddenly they know, oh my gosh, this just happened. So because it was the Jubilee, you had the various Jews from all over the world had gathered together in Jerusalem, right? And the so they were there speaking, they spoke Spanish and Chinese and all types of languages. And when they came, and so that is a fulfillment of what happened in Babylon when Marduk confused the languages, right? And so they all went their separate ways, and he divided the world. So they were all drawn back together. So part of the Jubilee is the bringing back together. It's bringing back everyone. And when they came downstairs, now this is often portrayed inaccurately in certain Pentecostal religions, where they'll have somebody jump up and speak in tongues, right? And what they'll do is they'll basically jump up and speak a whole bunch of gibberish, right? And then someone else in the congregation will get up and say, "What he's saying is this," right? And he'll define it. But in reality, that's not what happened. What happened was when they came downstairs, even though you might have spoke Spanish and I spoke, English, when I started speaking to you, you immediately understood me because the Holy Spirit is a universal language, or the Spirit is a language we can all understand. Even now, the words I'm saying are much less important than the spirit with which I'm delivering them. It's kind of like when we talk about the law. We can talk about the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. Now, all of us are gifted with five, we have senses, right? Like five physical senses. But the five spiritual senses we have are the same. That's why we have spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. So when they began to talk to them, every man and woman heard it in their own language and they understood because it was universal. And that spirit was so abundant that consciousness started to explode. And the true Jubilee was it didn't matter what had been done before that because from that moment on, they were conscious of who they were. Now, the principle is all debts are forgiven. Yes. But those debts go far beyond money. Debts are karmic debts. You have all types of debts, different manifestations of that. So in this, the true jubilee was when you went from this diminished capacity of yourself and you were made whole because you were made conscious of the power that is really in you. And so as far as the jubilee goes, the financial jubilee goes, that will only naturally reflect. That'll naturally reflect, and you're seeing it right now. Right now, I would say that you're witnessing that. The debts of the Federal Reserve is a monster that has oppressed all of us. We hear about it like it's a horror story, but I'm telling you that debt's gone. That debt's been forgiven. It's gone. And the whole debt system. You want to talk about forgiving debt? You know what? As far as I can tell, if you are bringing in a true asset and that's going to be put out for people, it's going to be put out for projects. When that money goes out, when we put money out for a project, whenever I call people, the first thing they do is try to tell me how much money they're going to make and how much money, they think I'm going to make money off it. And the first thing I tell them, I said, look, I'm not making any money off this. This money, we're giving it to you. So when we give you the money, what's much more important to me than even the project someone has or how profitable or sustainable it is, it's the character of the person we're giving it to. Because what I care about more than anything, I want to know that the person I'm giving the money to is dedicated, and believes in all their heart in what they're doing. And what they're doing will have a positive impact on people, no matter how big or how small it is, based on the substance of who they are. And think about it. Any business you started, if I gave you all the startup capital to do it, how could you not make it sustainable? By accident, you make money. Most of the time, the reason why businesses aren't profitable is because they spend so much of their time paying off the debts they built or the loans they took out to start the business in the first place.
Right.
So in this sense, you're witnessing that. And then you have that principle repeated because what happened is in the tabernacle, the high priest representing all the tribes, he would take this chest plate and he would put it on his chest. And these jewels, right? He put these jewels on his chest and he'd go into the most holy place. Now, the most holy place in the tabernacle, it correlates to your brain, right? To your mind, right? And the way you see that is this. You have in your brain, you have two primary functions, motor and sensory, right? Motor is actions, sensory is the sending and receiving of messages. So on the Ark of the Covenant, you had motor, you had Michael, the warrior angel or action, and you had Gabriel, the messenger angel or sensory, right? You had the 10 commandments. Now, the 10 commandments were written out. Now, we always see it as 5 and 5, but it's not. It's 7 on one side and 3 on the other. And they were the master law that governed the people. And they would take the 10 commandments and they locked it in the ark, and that became the master law. And that goes along with your pituitary gland, which has 7 hormones secreted from one side and 3 secreted from the other side. And that is referred to as the master gland of the body. But in reality, it's really the pineal gland that sits above the pituitary on top of the throne. And that's why the 2 archangels, their wings would arc over in the middle and they would create a heart. And that's what it's talking about when it talks about your heart and mind. The real promise is written in your heart and mind. So when the high priest would go in, representing all the tribes, it was called the Day of Atonement or the Day of At One Ment. In other words, we were always meant to know that we are at one with God. And what he would do is he would go around this, he would do this ritual, go around there 3 times, and then they'd have the flash of the Shekinah. And when the flash of the Shekinah happened, what he did is he stood there and he sat and saw God in shape and form on the throne or the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the reality is of what that really means is we should all be the real abundance is us knowing that it's God in shape and form as us. Now that's the real Day of Atonement. That's the real Jubilee. The real Jubilee. And that's when, because when you realize that the thing outside of you is really what is in you, then where are you looking for things to happen? It's, because we're always praying outside of ourselves. But what the scriptures say is that you should pray without ceasing. Now, how do you pray without ceasing? Well, prayer means intercession, right? Now you have a constant intercession going on between your brain and your body, or between your heart and your mind, or between your soul and your physical body. You are in a constant state of communication with spiritual things or a greater spiritual reality. Now, if that's the case, you're always praying without ceasing. You just don't realize it. You just don't. Now, the difference is this, like I say this all the time, all of our power is in our awareness of our power. And if we are aware of that power in us, then that awareness is likened unto the Holy Spirit. Now, that is a universal language, and that is a universal power that, just like Tui was saying, that is in all of us, and we are all connected. That is the true Jubilee, is waking to that consciousness that you are not separate from God, you are not separate from each other, that we are all connected, and all you are is a beautiful, unique expression of what God is, who God is as you. And essentially, you get to choose, right? Because you're the one creating your reality. So that's the true Jubilee as I understand
Well, I like your explanation better than mine.
it.
Well, I think I was wrong about the 70 years. I knew it was something like having to do with the multiple, but it was 7 times 7. You're correct. Yeah, it's been I never really researched too much about it, but yeah, I never even heard the detail that you just represented before. So I really appreciate that. That
Cool.
understanding of the Jubilee is much more than about the finances. It's more of a result.
Right. Yeah, but it's inevitable though. To your point, everything. Your body reflects everything that has happened and everything that is real. It literally reflects it. At one point, Kim was faced with this one of these previous rulers, right? And they said to her that they said, after all we've done for humanity, we deserve to take all the assets. And Kim stood up for all of us, by the way, and she said, after all you've done, you've divided every aspect of us by race, by nationality, by everything. You've even divided the hemispheres of our brains because your body reflects what has happened and what you believe to be true. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'd only have one hemisphere if we weren't divided. So much.
I mean, they'd be connected. I'm not sure. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not sure how that works, but yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Well, good. At least we only have two hemispheres. It'd be really crazy if we had 100 hemispheres.
Right. Well, when a baby's born, the hemispheres of the brains aren't divided. That's why they learn so fast.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess we are a reflection of reality. We just have to choose our new next reality.
Yes, we do. Yes, I agree. We certainly do. But you know what? I'm encouraged when these indigenous tribes, like we was talking about with the people of Fiji, they're tapping in. They're not as nearly as concerned with what the news is saying as they are with what the spirit is saying, right? The energy is saying, and they're in tune with the heart of the planet, so to speak, right? So when they reach out, when they get a chance to reach out, I know we've broken through. I know we've broken through.
Yeah, well, we're definitely on that road to break through. We're there's so much that seems to be all coming together at this time, in this particular month. The Ides of March are upon us, right? Which is always an ominous time, but we break through into the spring, right? We're here in a time of renewal. Also, we have Easter as another reference of of starting again, right? So
Absolutely.
this is it. We're here and it's happening. We have the potential right now of having these funds come directly into our hands for the projects to go out and get things done. We have trained people. They've trained themselves into thinking about humanitarian projects and what they're going to do, whether they're small projects or large.
Absolutely.
We've got a bunch of people ready to go. We just have to get them to stop waiting for tomorrow.
And I think we need to make sure, on our end, kind of the leaders in this movement, hopefully the people listening, certainly you and me, is that we need to make sure that that what we know, that we apply to assist and make sure that people are successful, right? We can't just throw money out and be like, good luck. We have to really make sure they understand and support them to make sure they have all the tools they need and they know what's going on and they know, the pitfalls, right? Because there's a bunch of things out there that people just really don't realize. We just think we're buying this product. Well, we got to really track it back. Who's building the product? Where's it coming from? Where's it going to? Is there ownership, or is it just some massive corporation that's pumping out something, right? And we're just fueling our enemy, because at the end of the day, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like these guys are disappearing. They they seem to be like cockroaches, right? They don't go away.
Raptured?
They're not going to be raptured up. I don't think they're going to be raptured up. I don't think so.
They could be raptured. They could be raptured to their own heaven/hell. So
right.
So go to HE double hockey sticks. You're referring to when you're a kid. HE double hockey sticks. Okay. So
there's something to that though. There's something about that. On the energetic planes of them kind of choosing this. They've created this world. They've created this alternate pathway that is, they're so dedicated to it. It's they're going down with it.
Get going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, be on your way.
There, we'll give you some extra energetic energy to push you.
Yeah.
One big push. So, we were talking about you brought up leaders, right? So anybody can be a leader. Anybody can be a leader. All you have to do is just start leading. Just do it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for anything. Stop waiting, right? Just go ahead and do your own broadcast. Talk about this. No matter you got one person listening or nobody listening. Eventually you will get to where people are going to listen to what you're saying, and you participate with the actions of being leading, right? Because you're doing it. Just go out and do it. This
That's
is
exactly right. That's exactly right.
this is
You
one of
know,
the things that we all have power to do is take action.
you know, uh, a friend of mine who always keeps me humble. She said, it's not that you're better than anybody else. It's that anybody could have done it, but you did. That's what makes a leader.
Yeah.
I tell this story about my dad. There's one time when I was a kid, we were water skiing on the lake coming back on Seneca Lake. We were going like 40 miles an hour on this lake. And I'm yelling at my dad to slow down. I'm yelling at my dad to slow down. And and he says, "Look behind you." I look behind me, and there's a tornado following us down the lake. We're running from the tornado. My dad took that boat. He drove it right up on the shore. I mean, we were like, pulled the boat out as quick as we could. And this woman comes down crying and screaming because her son is on a windsurfer across the lake. The lake is a mile wide. And all these guys, they could have just turned around and go grab the guy real quick. But my dad put his boat back in the water because none of them would go. And he jumped in that boat and he went straight across right into the tornado. Grabbed that man, saved his life, pulled him back out. And I will never forget that. I think about this all the time. When I see other people stand down, I'll follow my dad's example. Go right into the tornado.
Yeah.
Because it's better. It's better because what he did in that is he saved a life. He changed a life forever.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of integrity that if we realize what we have what we're able to do, that the universe, God, whatever it is, the energy, the source, whatever it is that you're connected with, it's all the same. It's the same ultimate source that lives in me, that lives in you, and lives in every one of us. And if we could just tap into the power of that, we would stop doing things to avoid consequences, and we would start doing things to expand our world, to create the world we want to make. And you're right. And in leaders, you know what? That same courageous action, like I love that story about my dad, so I tell it any time I get a chance. But you know what? It doesn't always look like that. It's just as courageous for a single mother to do all she does to raise her child by herself. It's just as courageous, for a man to provide for his family. These are just as courageous. We just don't realize it. And it's just as courageous to walk away from a job because we're no longer going to be somebody's slave, and we know that job is serving something that we don't want to be a part of, and taking a stand based on our integrity and saying, I will no longer be part of this. Now, when you do that, the universe has to respond because the universe rewards courage, and people follow courage, like Braveheart. It's the same. It's the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. And this is something where this is grassroots. It's up to you. Don't look for an appointment. Don't look for others to tell you what to do. Just think about what we're saying, and we're giving some basics. Right? Copy and paste the link. Right. This is just something you can do yourself. Go out and ask others to do the same. So this is it's like a pay it forward leadership. If we're taking a leadership position here to tell people to come together on this topic, it's then up to you to also lead, right? So maybe then you have individual efforts where you come up with the idea on how you think that you can make this message get heard, whatever that is, right? And you take your efforts in it and you lead and go out and do it and ask others to reproduce that. This is how we pull everybody together.
Yes, indeed. I love it. I love it.
All right, so now we're at our 3-hour mark.
All right. I think we shut it down, man. I think we covered a lot, and
Yeah, we did, and it's a fantastic one. And you know, the participation from people coming on is very much appreciated, because this added so much more depth to what we want to bring this information out. When we have interaction from TUI, for example, that interaction helps everybody understand what we're doing. So please join in.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll catch everybody tomorrow on the
All right, same time.
Tomorrow's T-7.
All right, Dan. Bye.